So in previous classes, we have discussed about DDL commands and DML commands to create the tables and how to insert the tables into the values into the table. So we have learned in the previous classes about all the SQL commands and how to update the values into the table, and by using the commands data uh, grant and revoke commands are used to control the data, but MySQL database are not supporting the data control commands. If you have a Oracle database, you can try on the. Okay, today I am going to discuss about constraints. What are the constraints? Constraints are the rules and restrictions applied on the column or table such that unwanted data cannot be inserted into the tables. If you are inserting duplications, it will not allow the constraints not allow the duplications into the table. We have to use the constraints. So here we have a constraints, not null constraint, and unique constraint, primary key, and foreign key constraint, check constraint, and default constraint. So I will create constraints after discussing these contents. So not null constraint, why we are using not null constraint? Yesterday we have create a not null constraint on one table. This not null constraint does not allow the null values. It must have a value for every row in the table. So each and every value should be present in the table. If you are not giving any value, if you are giving the null values, it will not accept the null values. So here you can drop the constraint by using the drop command, and already we know we have learned drop command in the DDL commands. So we can also add the not null constraint. If you are not established the constraint while creating the table, you can add and unique constraint. Unique constraint does not allow the duplicate values. No two rows can have same values in the column. It will not accept the duplication of the values. Here we have a example. Create table name, ID int unique. ID means a column name, attribute. Int means data type. Unique constraint. This is the constraint name, unique. And we can also add the unique constraint while creating the table. If you forgot adding the constraint, then after creation of the table, you can also add that time. And primary key is used to uniquely identify the record in a table. It is also same like unique constraint. It does not allow the null values in the table. So we can also drop the primary key constraint by using the drop command, and also add the primary key constraint after creating the table. Next, foreign key. Foreign key is an attribute which establishes relationship between the two tables. So foreign key is a field. We can also call it as a column definition. Foreign key constraints also known as the column definition in the table that refers to the foreign key in another table. Suppose, for example, in general example, students are studying MSc. How many semesters in MSc? So we have 4 semesters in MSc, right? After when the student joining in the college, he has registered with the unique ID. but after completion of the first semester, he has to go to the college and collect the certificates, and he has to go to the college and collect the certificates. So there is a duplication. So next, after completion of the second semester, and again he will go to the college and he has to get his certificates. So the action will be done in multiple times. So duplication will form that time. So in that time we have to create the foreign key. So when he has joined in the college, he has registered with unique ID, and he is going to college to collect the certificates multiple times. So there is a duplication. So in that time we have to use the foreign key. Check constraint means check constraint is used to check the given value, and SQL creates the check constraint when the person table is created. So here the syntax: create command table, persons means person's table name, ID is the column name, int is the data type. We have added not null constraint, and last name is the column name. Name is in the form of characters, right? So strings. So we can use the varchar data type, not null constraint. So next, we can also drop the check constraint, and we can also add in the last one, default constraint. If you are not giving any values, the SQL database stores the value by default. Default constraint is used to display the default value. So here we have example: create table name, ID is the column name, primary key is the constraint. So age is the column name, and also int is the data type. By default, we are giving the value 30. So if you are not giving any values, it will take the 30 by default value in this example. So let me check the constraint. Let me create the constraint. How to create the constraint? Let me check. What is the first constraint? Yesterday we have seen that not null constraint. What is the database we have created? Class database has created.
अच्छा
Yes.
वही सोच रहा डिस्क्रिप्शन में क्या डालूं, नाम तो डाल सकते हैं, खुद का है बस प्रोजेक्ट का.
Hello. Sorry, I'm not able to hear you, your voice. Yesterday we have created the not null constraint, right?
ओ ठीक है, वो छोड़ो वही प्रोजेक्ट का क्या डालूं वही सोच रहा. हाँ
Rutik, right? If you have any
जो
doubts,
रहता है वो
please.
विजुअलाइज करके ना इनसाइट.
So yesterday we have a not null constraint. Again, we will check the not null constraint, how to establish a not null constraint while creating the table. Here we have given the not null one to recognize easily. So I will create the table. I will give a 2 number 1. Yesterday we have created, but I will explain again. ID. I will take ID. I will establish the not null constraint, and I will take the column name in name. Name is in the form of strings, right? So that's why I'm giving the varchar data type, and I am specifying the value 20. It defines the length of the string 20. Just execute the query. So here we have no errors. So not null means will not accept the values. I will describe the table. Not null. Whatever you have given in the while creating the table, you have to give that name. Names must be same. So here we have a table ID and name. Here, can you see the null column? So null column name has yes and ID has no. It will not accept the null values. If n name accept the null values because we have not given not null constraint to the name column. So for ID we have given not null constraints. So let me insert the values into the table. Insert. What is the command? What is the syntax? Insert into table name. What is the table name? Not null 1. So the column names must be same. ID. What are the column names? ID, n name. Values. I'm giving 1 and name. I'm giving Ravi name. Next, I will give a null column. Sorry, null value in the table. So let me check it. Let me check that constraint will accept the null values or not. And I will give a RAM value into the table. Just execute the query. So here one error. What is that? Column ID cannot be null. So because we have defined the not null constraint for the column ID. So that's why it will not accept the null values. So I'm giving the value 2 instead of null value. So let me check the query output. So here we have 0 errors. How can we describe the table? Sorry, how can we retrieve the table? What command is used to that? Select command is used to retrieve the data from the table. Select start from. What is the table name? Not null. Just execute the query. So here we have table. Table has created, and also we have inserted the values into the table. So if you given the null value, it will not accept because the not null we have given the not null constraint for ID column. Next, what is the this is the establish the constraint into the column. So how can we drop the constraint? So here the syntax: alter table name, drop. Sorry. So here the syntax: alter table. This is for dropping the constraints. Alter table. Orders means table name. Modify column. For which column you want to drop, you have to give that column name. So column RID int. Let me check our query. So I want to drop the not null constraint. So how can we check? Just describe the not null. So here we have null column, right? We have no value in the null column. So instead of no, we have to get yes by using by dropping the null not null constraint. So I will drop the constraint. So we will check after dropping the constraint how will happen, what will happen. So what is the syntax? Alter table name. So any if you want to modify any value or any column, you just give the command alter command. Alter table name. What is the table name? Not null 1. Next, what is the modify keyword is used to drop the constraint into the table. Modify column. For which column you want to drop the drop constraint, you have to give that name only. So here I have established the not null constraint for ID column. Here we have to give the ID column. Column ID int. Just execute the query and describe the query. So here in the null column we get yes value. So now it will accept the null values. Before dropping, it will not accept the null values. After dropping the constraint, now the table has to allow the null values. Next, what is the command? Sorry, what is the constraint? Unique constraint. Unique constraint. Why we are using the unique constraint? Unique constraint does not allow the duplication of the values. Not null constraint means it will not accept the null constraint. Unique constraint, it will not accept the duplication of the values into the table. No two rows can have same values in the column. So let me check. Here the syntax: create table. Table name means person's table. ID is the column name. Int is the data type, and unique is the constraint name. N name is the character name. So column name in the form of string, form of frequency of characters, string. So I will give the varchar data type. So let me create the unique constraint by using the unique create table. So I will give a unique one. These tables are all will be stored in the class database. We have created the class database at the beginning of the so create table. Unique one is the table name. So I will give the ID int data type. So here I'm giving the unique constraint. Unique. Next column name, I'm taking the column name uname. You can give any name. Just I will give a uname. You can give any name while creating the table. Uname varchar. Varchar, I will give the length 20. So let me check. So here we have 0 errors. So describe the table now. Type table name. What is the table name? Unique one. Unique one. So here we have a table, feed type and null e. We have given the key, unique constraint. By default, it will take the null values. If you are not given any values, it will take the null values by default. Here unique key. We have added the table. We have added to the column name. So for ID, here we have unique key. Just inserting the values, what will happen? Insert table name. What is the table name? Unique. I am inserting the values into the unique table name. Sorry, unique table. Insert table, unique one. What are the columns? ID, uname. What is the rule for unique constraint? It will not accept the duplication of the values. No two rows have same value in the table. Values. What is the ID? I will give 1. So you name I mean setting the values with the same ID 1. So now I will give the name Josna. Just execute the query. So here we have error. Here we have unique values. 1 is the duplication, but unique constant does not allow the duplications. Just execute the query. So and also here we have one more error. What is that? Table 1. ID, no, uname, values, 1 RAM and it's a table unique one. So here we forgot to give insert into. Insert into. We have to give the insert into. So here I am not giving insert into keyword. Just go through the syntax, execute the query and insert into. Here don't give the table, just give the table name. Insert into table name. So here we have 0 errors. Just give the ID 1 to duplicate. Here we have duplicate values. So here we have error, duplicate entry 1 for key, unique 1. So rule for unique key does not allow the duplication of the values. It will allow the unique values. So here I am giving the one more value. So here one more duplicate entry. What is that duplicate entry for unique ID? No duplication. Just refresh the object browser. Class database. So already we have inserted the first value, right? So again we have so I will give 4. Already first value inserted. So I will give 4. So duplicate entry for 2. Just select the retrieve the data by using the select command. Select start from unique ones. So here we have 1, 2. So next here I am giving the 5. Just insert the values. Now we have to execute the query. So here inserted the values. It will not accept the duplication of the values. Unique constraint will not accept the duplication of the. Here we have a column has unique constraint for ID. So I want to drop that unique constraint. So what is the syntax? So here the syntax we have alter table persons. Persons means table name. Drop means if you want to delete the unique constraint, just to give the drop command. Drop constraint column name. Just to give that. So we have to use the alter table. What is the table name? So I am dropping the unique constraint. Unique constraint. What is the command we have given? Drop command. Drop. Next, constraint column name. Constraint column name. What is the column name? We have given the unique constraint to ID column, right? So we have to give the column name ID. Just give the ID. Alter table name, drop constraint ID. So I am dropping the constraint for the ID column. Here we have a 0 errors. Let me check the table. How can we check the table? Describe table name. Describe table name. So here we have unique ID, unique name. Here key is not visible to us because we have dropped that constraint. Drop that constraint in the ID column. So here this is the adding and dropping constraint into the columns. Next, what constraint? Primary key constraint. What is the primary key? Primary key is used to uniquely identify the records into the table. It is also does not accept the null value, same like unique constraint. So let me check how to give the primary key into the table for column. So I will create the table. Create table. What is the table name? You have to give the table name. Just go through the syntax. It will be easy for you. So create table name. I will give primary I will give PR. I will give PK, primary key. Just give the ID in the form of numbers, give into data type. Next, I will give the name, P name, primary key name. I will give primary. For example, you can give any name, but I am taking the P name. Varchar, I will give a varchar data type. So you have to close with the semicolon after creation of the table. So here I am not giving the primary key. So if you are not giving primary key constraint, accept the null values. Primary key, I will give the primary key to ID column. So just execute the query. So table has created. How we can see the table? Just give the describe command. Describe table name. I have given PK. So just define the PK. Just give the PK. So here we have table. Table has created by table has created with primary key for ID column. So here we have field type null key. So you can see in the data class database. So here PK table. In the columns. So here key symbol is visible for column ID. This is the key. We have given primary key for the column ID. So you can see here, and also table has also primary key. I'm inserting the values. So what is the rule for primary key? It will not accept the duplication values. Same like the unique constraint. Insert. Insert into table. Sorry. Insert into table name. What is the table name? PK. What are the columns? ID, P name, and values. ID, what is the ID? I will give 101, and P name, I will give Rishi. So I'm inserting the values. So it will not accept duplications. I'm inserting the value 101 with same value. I'm inserting. So what will happen? Let me check. Just select the query, execute the query. So here duplication entry 101 for key. So primary key will not accept the duplications. Just give the 102. So it will accept the values because the 101 and 102 are the unique values. 0 errors. Select start from PK. Star means all the columns. If you want to display selected columns, just select the ID name give the specific names. So here we have table. So we have added the primary key. How? Next, what is the constraint? Primary key does not accept the null values. Next constraint, what is that? Wait. So here the foreign key. So foreign key is an attribute which establish the relationship between two tables. Foreign key is a field or collection of fields in a table that refers to the foreign key in another table. Let me check how to create the foreign key. It references to the ID of the primary key. So here we have given the primary key for the ID column in the PK table. So next I have created another table because it established the relation between two tables. That's why I'm creating two tables. So here one table here with the primary key. Next, sorry, I want to create two tables. Create table name. What is the table name? I will take a student table. ID. Int. I will give the primary key. Next, I will give a name column. Yes, name, student name. Var. Just execute the query. I'm creating the two tables. Here, I'm creating the student table. Next, certificate table. After creation of the table, we have to insert the values. Create table certificate table. Certificate ID. I will give a primary key to that column. Next, what is that? Date. Certificate date. So date, I'm using the date data type. So here I'm creating another table, certificate. So here we have no errors. Next, foreign key. How to establish the foreign? How to establish the foreign key? It will refers to the primary key of student, primary key of ID column. Create table certificate log receiving date. So I am creating the third table, certificate log. Certificate ID. I will give the certificate ID into data type. Next, what is that? Student. Here I am giving student ID. And certificate ID. And I will give date, received date. Date data type. So how can we establish the foreign key? Foreign key refers to the primary key of student table. It references to the primary key of the student table. foreign key of student ID. Student ID references to the primary key of foreign key of student ID references to the primary key of student. Student of what is that ID? Next what? So here I am giving the foreign key of just it will refer to the primary key in the other table. Foreign key of what is that? Certificate ID. Certificate ID references to the certificate ID. References to the certificate of certificate ID in the certificate table. Certificate of ID. So whatever we have given column names in the student and certificate, that names will be given into the certificate log table. Just close, execute the query. So here we have 0 errors. So firstly, I have created the student table. Next, I have created certificate table. Here, the foreign key establishes to reference to the primary key of the student table and certificate table. So how it will work? Let me check. So insert into. I am inserting the values into student and certificate log. Insert into table name. What is the table name? Student. Student. In ID means I will give a 1. Next name I will give Ravi. Next 2. So primary key does not allow the null value, does not allow the duplication of the values. From just execute the query. Just I'm inserting 2 values. Here we have line 1. Insert into table name. So we have inserted directly. We are not mentioned the column names. ID, yes, name. Values. I will give 1 and name Ram. And next I will give 2 value 2 and Ravi. Zero errors. Next I'm inserting the values into the certificate table. Into certificate. So the names must be same. Certificate. And what are the column names in the certificate? ID and order ID. I'm sorry. ID and date. Values. I'm setting the values. ID I will give 101 and the date in the form of years, months, date. So here I am inserting the values into 2 tables. First one student, next certificate. So the how foreign key refers to the primary with that. So primary key does not allow the duplication of the values, but foreign key allows the duplicate values. So here I'm inserting the values into certificate log. Insert into certificate log. Here third table certificate log, right? Certificate log. Insert into certificate log. What are the columns? Student ID, certificate ID, and received date. Received date. So values. Here I am inserting. Here student has two values, and certificate table has 101 values. Here I am giving them 3. So what will happen? Just check out. 3 and certificate ID 101. And what is the received date? I will give 2022. It reference to the primary key. It will not. So here we have error. So it will accept up to 2 values, 1, 2. So here we have given the third value. So it will not accept. Just I will give 1 and 1. Just check out this. It will not. It will accept. It will accept. Just it will accept the limit value. So here the foreign key references to the primary key of the ID. Now I'm inserting the values next 2 and 101. So here 101 is right. I'm giving the value 102. So check out what will happen. 2, 4. So it will not accept 102 because certificate table has no 102 value, right? So just execute that query. What will happen? So we have one error because it will not accept remaining values. 102 value it will not accept because 101 value has present in the certificate table and 12 values are present in the student table. So this is the creation of the constraints. Next remaining check and default constraint, tomorrow we will discuss that. So thank you so much. Thank you.